A FAM production. Furniture and mattress. FAM.news.
I think it's time we get past all of the opinions about how design and technology can enhance wellness in the home. Linda Kafka and Mike Peterson are here with proven scientific underpinnings and a summit with some of the top thinkers around design and health. The Dos Marcos show begins in 60 seconds.
Driven entrepreneurs, listen up. It's time to team up with Nationwide Marketing Group, North America's most successful network of independent retailers. You'll gain access to programs and services that level the playing field between you and the national chains. Industry-leading digital marketing, increased buying power, exclusive networking events, and of course, their awesome learning platform. Nationwide Marketing Group is the business partner that helps you get results and stay ahead of the competition. Take the first step today and visit nationwidegroup.org.
Do you want more sales in 3 easy clicks? Yeah, it starts right now at doorcounts.com. With a completely redesigned user interface, gathering data has never been easier. Click number 1, your salespeople connect with the customer as they walk through the door. Click 2 is the outcome. Click 3, key performance metrics, right there on your phone from anywhere at any time. Now your salespeople can spend their time selling, and DoorCounts is going to gather the data you need to make your business better. Start right now at doorcounts.com.
Welcome to the Dos Marcos Show with Mark Kinsley and Mark Quinn, where mattress and furniture leaders gather to grow, get the inside scoop, tell stories, and take tequila shots.
Uno, dos, tequila!
The galaxy's greatest mattress podcast has liftoff in
3, engine start, 2, 1. Launch enable 7, 8.
Mark, did you see Mike Peterson and Linda Kafka, our guest for today? I'll introduce them in a second. But did you see them light up when we talked about
I saw some smiles. I feel like there might be a story behind. Everybody's got a tequila shot story, almost everybody. So maybe we get into that. Who knows?
Everybody's got one, no question. Well, guys, we're really excited today because Mike Peterson and Linda Kafka, both co-founders of Science and Design Summit, and they are in our universe, and we love it. You know, Kinsley, it's funny. You and I, we claim to, be, thought leaders or try to be thought leaders in terms of the sleep ecosystem, right? So the article we wrote on the FAM called Store of the Future, we talk about that. So if you are really in the business of helping human beings sleep better, then you need to, of course, talk to them about their mattress, their pillows, their sheets. And then the ecosystem says, think about light, think about temperature, think about stress, think about food, think about music, think about all these things in the ecosystem. One thing, though, we have not really talked about is the fashion or the design, the aesthetic in the master bedroom. So, of course, certain colors mean things, but these guys have taken it to a much different level. Mike and Linda, welcome to the galaxy's greatest mattress podcast. How are you guys today?
And thank you for your humility.
You have arrived. Great. You have arrived. When you're a category of 1 like us, you can be the galaxy's greatest. Although somebody did come along and do a short series of mattress podcasts, and they said they were the universe's greatest. So we'll let them have that temporarily. But we are super happy to have you here. Now, I want to give a quick preview of some of the rich material we're going to get into. Number 1, there is science and design. We're going to go back in time 6,000 years ago and talk about nature. We're going to help the interior design community understand the health benefits they bring to the home, real health benefits backed in science. We're going to talk about a partnership study done between Google and Johns Hopkins. We're going to talk about a hospital in Singapore, and we're going to talk about biophilia and neuroaesthetics. And these are a lot of big words that not a lot of people in the furniture and mattress industry probably pay attention to very often. Yeah. But we are going to get into it today because whenever I saw the Science and Design Summit come across my stream, I reached out to Mike and I said, Mike, whatever you're doing, this sings to my soul because I think there's so much power in design and health. And with people staying home more often than ever before, and people aging and moving into the future in the next chapter in their lives, they don't want to go to nursing homes. They want to be at home. And so I think about the value of home and the value of design and what our industry can do for people. I think about it in relation to sleep, but it goes beyond that. Talk to us about your journey in bringing the world the Science and Design Summit and how this all got started.
And thank you, Mark. And Mark, I appreciate being here. For me, it started 6 years ago. I was a publisher of a magazine, and I was having lunch with an architect in Denver. His name's Don Ruggles. And I'm sitting there, I'm trying to sell him a page of advertising, and all Don wanted to do was talk about beauty, nature, and design, and how they actually improve health. And, for the first 15 minutes, it was going right over my head. But ultimately, the light went on, and then it shined brighter and brighter. And I'm realizing, wait a minute, the world of architecture is studying how beautiful architecture actually makes us feel good. It calms us, it reassures us. And it's a subject that needed to be brought to the world of home furnishings and design. And so I started studying and learning. Don went on to write a great book called Beauty, Neuroscience, and Architecture, which really kicked me in the butt and said, Mike, you got to do something with this. And so for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been speaking on the subject of how what we do in our industry, we're already doing it. We're creating aesthetic experiences. And what that does is improve health. And we can document it now. That's the other nice thing. We can document it from multiple institutions. So that's the journey for me. It's been about 6 years, and for me, it's just beginning.
And Linda, how did you get connected to this world? You and Mike are old friends, a shared passion. How did this all evolve?
Well, it's interesting. I actually come from the industry running a design center in Toronto, Canada, but I actually took a different approach than Mike did. And at the design center, we were educating not just the showroom manufacturers, but also the interior designers on various topics that really supported their business and the industry as a whole. And mine actually started, not in the science of design, but it started in aging in place, living in place, back in 2010, when we started looking at how we should improve our residential spaces to really allow for people to live in their home, for as long as they want, a forever home, you might want to call it. And, as we talk about the aging in place market, we recognize that a lot of people have progressive conditions, and with progressive conditions requires restorative sleep. So I started talking more and more about the sleep sanctuary and the different areas in the home. And it wasn't until this was 2010, it took me 9 years to meet Mike. It was in 2019, and I was at the High Point Furniture Market, and I had, gotten as much intel and information from the market. I was getting in the car, or my husband and I were getting in the car to drive back to Toronto, Canada. And I said to him, I just don't feel like I've done what I'm supposed to do here. I said, I want to go to one more session. And it was a design harmony session being held in one of the showrooms at High Point. And I promised him, I said, I won't be very long. I'm just going to go check it out. And, I'll take a few notes, and then I'll get the person's contact and I'll leave. Well, I think I was there for 2 hours, and my husband wasn't a happy camper, but I have to tell you, it dramatically changed my life when I met Mike and really had that aha moment that everything, regardless of how we design our spaces, all sits underneath the umbrella of wellness. And that wellness and health and well-being in the home is really evidence-based design through science. And that's what really just rolled everything out for me. So I actually have to say thank you to Mike for being in the right place at the right time. Thank you to all these great opportunities. But that's how I got started in this with Mike. And here we are all these years later, launching an international summit.
And the summits are going to be taking place in 10 different cities starting on April 21st in South Florida. And we can give details on that. But I want to get right into some science. Okay, give us some of this science that you're talking about that allows somebody in the design community to go to people and say, here's proof that what we do has this type of impact on your health and wellness.
Okay, one good example, I think, an easy example to talk about is we need to remember that we are first born from nature, that we are nature as humans, and how important that nature is in our DNA. And so the Rusk Institute in New York a couple of years ago decided that they were going to prescribe for 107 of their cardiac patients. They wanted them to spend some time in a nursery, and not just to walk through the nursery, but to literally have these patients put their hands in the dirt and plant flowers. The result, and they were monitored during the whole time, and the result was an average decrease in the heart rate of 5 beats per minute, which amounted to about a 6 to 7% decrease in the usage of the heart. Now, that's science, and essentially backing up the fact that by exposure to biophilia, exposure to nature, it takes us back to our earthly beginnings as a people and connects us with the land. And that's an easy scientific example. By the way, in Japan, they started studying this about 35 years ago. There's something in Japan called Shinrin-yoku, and if you translate that, it means forest bathing. And so they actually send patients out into the forest to spend time, to calm them, to improve their health, instead of giving them a bottle of pills. Now, how about that?
Mike, I'm laughing. If anybody watching the video probably saw me start to smile when you mentioned Shinrin-yoku, because a friend of mine with C3 named Mark Desjardins, we're putting together something called Dream Camp, and he put in this document, we're going to do some Shinrin-yoku, and I'm like, what does that mean? What are we going to be doing? This sounds highly uncomfortable. He's like, no, nature bathing. We're going to be mountain biking, and as part of that, you get exposure to nature, which is what I do every week, multiple times a week, is go out in the forest and mountain bike. And so I love that we're able to tap into cultures and societies and communities that have been around thousands of years, and our nascent little upstart here in North America is able to look at that and be like, okay, hold on a second. Let's put some science to something that has longevity and not just discount it because it's not a bottle of pills. I love that. And I think lots of people are moving that direction. Linda, what was the aha moment for you? You said you met Mike. Was there a stat or a piece of science that you have kind of held on to and brought forth as an example of, hey, there are real metrics here?
I think the aha moment was really combined of a lot of different things. What I was hearing, and I was hearing it from the design community, and often if we listen to our customers, they will tell us things that we need to pay attention to. And I was hearing from the design centers, or from the designers, interior designers, talking a lot about wellness. And I was, it wasn't so much a statistic because I was bombarded with the statistics already about the aging population and all of this information, but it was really more about listening to, the different industries and what they were talking to. So if you were talking to interior designers, they were using the wellness, well-being. When I talked to the appliance industry, they were starting to talk about the connected home and the advantages of what they were bringing and the wellness, and they were relating it more to the foods that they were cooking with those appliances. When we looked at the lighting industry, and circadian lighting was all of a sudden being talked about quite a bit. And you talk to others that perhaps were in sound integrators, not just from the connected home, but also from the acoustics perspective. So what was happening for me was, as I running a design center and attending all these different events, whether it was in the United States or abroad, I was hearing all this chatter happening around wellness. And they were just, when I saw Mike, it was like, like that mercury, all of those little blobs of mercury coming together. And then there was Mike at the heart of this saying science and design, because not one of these industries mentioned the word science. They kept going back to lighting, to wellness, to health. Like nobody was talking about evidence-based design. And out of Mike's mouth came the word, design harmony and science and design. And that's when I had the moment. I realized that's what's binding all of this together. And that's what took me into this direction. And I haven't turned back, and it's proven to be extremely well. And as I now take that information to the design community or to the manufacturers or to retailers, they're now also having that aha moment. So that's what it was for me. Not so much a statistic.
So Mike, let's...
on that note, Mike, you and I were talking, all of us were talking before a little bit about the science part, and there was a wow moment for me. Like we walk into someone else's house, and you might go, "Oh, that house isn't really decorated all that great," but the reality is that we all have a different preference or style in how we decorate, and so you might be into a modern look, someone else might be into a more traditional look. But when they walk into that home, the bedroom, whatever it is, it makes them feel something, right? So there's an intangible to that. So that's that's not science. But Mike, you were talking to us about Milan and kind of some of the things that happened in the Milan study. And that for me, I'm like, oh, wow. Like, technology catching up to some of the emotion and actually proving out some of the ideas and the concepts that you guys are talking about. Can you tell us a little bit about the Milan study?
It was also a trigger for me. It really opened my eyes to what technology could do to help our industry, and not just designers. I'm talking about helping furniture retailers, helping manufacturers. It was Milan Design Week. It was 2019, and Google Technology, Johns Hopkins University, and Ready Made Architecture out of New York got together and created, they actually built 3 different rooms. Each room had a different aesthetic experience to it. And now because of technology, Google was able to put a wearable wristband on all of the attendees. The wristband was capable of measuring all cardio, blood pressure, heart rate, and also the wristband could measure GSR, which is galvanic skin response, which is a measuring of the arousal factor that comes off of your skin. So all attendees wore these wristbands, and at the end of the tour, Johns Hopkins was able to read for that attendee which aesthetic experience gave them the most positive cardio and bio reaction. It was fascinating because look at what it does for our industry now. If we can get our hands on this kind of technology and we put a wristband on a customer walking through a furniture store, or a designer putting a wristband on their client and showing them 50 different images, all of a sudden design and furniture design have a roadmap just because of technology. That's where we're going. And that's what's so exciting about the concept of science in design.
And I can only imagine the power of putting something like that on a customer, a client, walking through a store, and helping from a merchandising decision-making standpoint. You're going to have somebody that clearly gravitates towards certain products. You're going to know the amount of time somebody spends on products. You're going to understand what their physical responses are that you can't measure as a human being, but technology can. And all of a sudden now you can make more informed decisions. A retailer could go back to a manufacturer or supplier, product maker, and say, hey, this is what we're seeing. Time to take another swing at it because whatever you sold us is not working, or this is working really well. Let's over-index on some of these products. So I love that. And I think even that technology, I think, is going to move beyond a wristband. I think it's going to get into a lot of AI and the usage of other technology put into that environment that will be non-invasive.
Well, let me give you one other example then, because I've just learned in the last year and a half about something that 3M has been doing for a couple of years. It's called VAS technology, VAS, Visual Attention Software. And they're actually going to be speaking at some of our summits. And essentially, this software has the capability of predicting where the eye, the brain actually, because the eye is merely a tool of the brain, where the eye will go upon seeing an image. And so what's exciting about this is that if you were to take a picture of your storefront and run that image through the VAS software, it would tell you what part of that storefront lights up and is most attractive to the subconscious mind. And because 95%, not getting too deep into the weeds here, but 95% of our brain is used for the subconscious mind, only 5% for the conscious. So think of the instant reactions that we've had as a species over millions of years, fight or flight, that kind of thing. It's instantaneous. And so when you walk up to a storefront and you have an immediate reaction, and that's what this VAS technology can actually provide for you.
Let's keep going with that for a minute, Mike, because you talk about history and nature and science. And I remember you said something to the effect of 6,000 years ago, science was nature-based. You had tree canopies in the natural environment. And one of the directions you want to encourage people to look and to study is history, is our evolutionary psychology, is the tree canopies of old. Take us into that. What does that mean? Help us understand it.
All right. One of the best sources for this is Susan McSalmon. She's the executive director of the International Arts and Mind Lab at Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine. She's got a few more words in her title too, but I just don't remember them all. She talks about how aesthetic experiences are hardwired in our DNA. They're encoded in our DNA because over the 3.6 billion years of our evolutionary inheritance, we just can't deny the fact that we are the sum and the aggregate of what we have been over those billions of years. And we forget that today because we're building buildings, we're getting involved in sales promotions, we're doing all the things that are frankly unnatural to us as a people. But if we remember, if we go back to the fact that 6,000 years ago, there were no buildings, there weren't even communities. We were just individuals, and our source of inspiration was the land around us. And all the images that we saw, yes, the tree canopies, the riverbed, all of those things are in our DNA right now. And every one of the viewers or listeners to this podcast is that all of that is in their DNA as well. So that's what we have to remember, and that's what we have to market to, that type of person.
Linda, bring it home for us. Take us into the bedroom.
So can you guys tell us
I want to go into
bit?
the bedroom here. Sorry. I want Linda to take some of this evolutionary psychology, take some of these findings and this data and these anecdotes and the science and design. How do we put this into the bedroom in a way that maybe some people don't understand or that's unexpected? Because I think we pay attention a little bit to light and sound and smell and some of the aesthetics and blackout blinds when we talk about all these different things. But how are you thinking about application within the bedroom and that sleep sanctuary?
Well, it's interesting because as we started this conversation, Mark, the other Mark, had said the same thing, but also I think I heard him say that beauty isn't part of the science, but it actually is, and it's a very important part of that why we feel the way we feel. So I want to take it a step back. You'll walk into a space, and regardless of the style, you'll either feel comfortable in that space with, or you'll be in that fight flight type of mode and want to get out of that space. So, it really is important to look at how we are designing and from a personalized perspective as opposed to a trend perspective or a color of the year. So if color of the year is, gray, I'm just going to throw that out there because it happens to still be in Canada for all these years. Designing your space with that, it doesn't necessarily lend itself well to you and your health and the health benefits that it can deliver. You really have to focus on the individual and that space, but relating it to it, it's all part and parcel of everything. So we're just we haven't even scratched the surface. Part of science and design talks about biophilic design, biomimicry. We look at lighting, we look at the acoustics in that space, we look at the temperature of that space. It's all evidence-based design. I don't want your listeners to think it's only about the look or the shape of what's in that space. Now, what I can tell you is that your industry is already in this. They just perhaps don't realize it, and they're not marketing themselves as delivering the health benefits that they potentially could be. So when you look at smart bed, responsive technology, you're all familiar with these, mattresses and products in the bedroom that actually can measure your, different biometrics, everything from helping to alleviate snoring to getting a better rest. It's all there. It's just how you're marketing and presenting it out to the audience. And I think that's what the biggest thing that we're really missing is this. When I walk through shows, whether it was a kitchen and bath show at KBIS or the International Building Show, whether I walk through High Point or any of the others, I often see retailers, or I should say manufacturers in the showrooms, and even retailers will do this too. It's like, they don't talk about the health benefits that space can provide to that individual. They talk about, we've got the latest styles, latest color, latest trends. We've got, eucalyptus lavender infused into our mattresses, but it goes beyond that. And so when you're looking at that space, you got to look at it as not just one element. You got to look at all of them combined, because all of those elements combined actually speak to who we are as human beings. So if you look at the lighting, the sound in that space, what the mattresses can do for us now, that whole smart bed technology, it's all that together that really makes that place the sleep sanctuary. And what I am finding is that designers and some custom home builders are actually marketing and branding themselves as creating sleep sanctuaries for their customers or their clients. It's starting to happen out there, but I don't see the retailers or I don't see the manufacturers jumping onto that as quickly as I see the design community. I hope that answers your question, because it's not just about one definitive thing that you should do in your space. It's multiple things that need to be done, and the bedding, the mattress industry plays an extremely big role in this.
And I think it did get into. I think it did get into kind of like the clouds, but let's bring it into the dirt a little bit, because I understand what you're saying, a comprehensive evaluation of your sleep sanctuary, for example, or your living room. But whenever you're trying to like take these ideas in science and get them applied at the personal level, who's qualified to do that? And what science are they able to present to the consumer or the client to help them understand that this is evidence-based? Where are they getting that information? Like if somebody's a designer listening right now or working in a design-driven environment in a furniture or mattress store, where do they get the information? How do they apply it? How do they learn?
Mark,
that?
That's exactly why after thinking about this for the last 2 years, Linda and I are putting together this series of seminars and summits around the country, because we will be bringing in scholars and academics from Boston Architectural College. We're going to bring in Don Ruggles, Johns Hopkins University, vast 3M software speakers to help educate those designers, to give them the documentation that they need to be, and the words, just merely the words. To be able to use with their clients. If you had used the word neuroaesthetics 5 years ago, people would have scratched their head and said, what? But that's exactly what is happening. There's a convergence of science and design. Neuroscience and aesthetics have become neuroaesthetics, and they're already in our industry. That word isn't going anywhere. And designers and furniture retailers need to study up. They need to come out to the summits. If they can, if it's at all possible, because we're going to have 6 different seminars per summit, and these scholars will be helping the audience, the attendees, learn how to use the knowledge that we'll be giving them.
I want to add to that.
Earlier, Linda,
I wanted to add to that. There are so many sources out there and so much information out there. As a designer, a retailer, a manufacturer, to spend time looking for all of that, it just becomes overwhelming with the amount of information. So what we've done is we've really narrowed it down and focused it on our segment of what's relevant. We're not short of this information. It's, where do you find it? And so the other challenge too is this: if you're speaking to somebody that comes from the academia science sector, they tend to, as Mike always says, speak in six syllable words. It becomes very challenging to, you tend to lose your interest really quickly because you can't quite grasp what they're saying. So we're acting as a bridge between the science industry and the design industry, and and really helping to help establish that lexicon or that vocabulary that we need to be using in this industry, and sharing these resources so that you can get direct evidence-based analytics and information that you can then use. And I just want to say, and Mike can speak to this more, is take a look at the big retailers and what they're doing, whether it's Google, Etsy, Apple, and the dollars that they've spent in the commercial sector and in the retail sector, and they're basing it all on science and design.
That's an interesting point. And
so, Linda, earlier you had mentioned that design, or my comment that design wasn't part of the science. Not what I meant. It's not on our radar, right? And I think this, and so I think you're right. It is absolutely part of the science, and it's so great that you guys are bringing that part out here. So, to Mark's point a minute ago, though, he said let's bring it into the dirt. can you talk to us a little bit about the practical application, right? So people are listening to this now, and like sleep, honestly, we had Dr. Michael Bruce on our show, and we're saying, hey, Michael, grade human beings on their knowledge of sleep cycles, caffeine half-life, all these things. Like, how much do we know? And he was like, it's an F. People don't get their sleep very well. I bet if we were to grade the industry on their understanding of neuroaesthetics, it would be an F, right? Like, so there's a big education piece to this. So I love that you're doing the summits. But then can you give us an example of people that are doing something with the science, a practical application in their business where it's actually, bringing them along and helping them achieve a different level of success? Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
About a year and a half ago, I did a seminar on this overall subject, and one of the groups that were attending the seminar was a design firm in Charlotte. The design firm is called Clark & Clark Interiors. And they called me a week later and said, look, I love all this knowledge. We instinctively are doing a lot of what you're talking about. And by the way, we find that to be the case a lot. But they didn't know how to put it together. So they asked me if I could help them develop a website, develop an ad campaign, and et cetera. And so they were deep into biophilia, using a lot of natural light, using a lot of prospect and refuge concepts that are part of biophilia. And so it was about a year ago, we put together a brand new website where they took ownership of the subject. They moved from just dancing around with it and not knowing that they were specialists in this subject, but they actually took ownership. So we created a new website, all new collateral, a new ad campaign that brought in the subject of fractals and biophilic textures, and then showed how they were being used in the design of the home. And so that's one example for you.
One of the things I love.
If we look at the interior design industry alone, you've got over 42,000 interior designers that are operating in the United States. In Canada, we look at how do we niche and really stand apart in this. In the U.S., we call it niches. The riches are in the niches. How are we niching into an area that is going to set us apart from our competition? And what we're seeing is designers, interior designers, and I've spoken to them firsthand that they've actually said, I attended a design harmony presentation by Mike Peterson, and it changed my business. Or they came to my other summit, the Livable Design Summit, and listened to Don Ruggles or Ann Sussman or Mike Peterson speaking about this, and they immediately turned their business around, only to find out that they ended up, really separating themselves from their competition, but increasing the demand, from business. But here's the other thing too. A lot of these designers are able to charge more for this, because this is not something you can go onto Wayfair and buy. This is knowledge that really sets you apart from your customers. And it doesn't matter if you're in retail or if you're interior design. It's knowledge that really sets you apart from the rest. It puts you on a different level. And we're seeing it happening everywhere. It's starting to emerge from right across Canada, designers that are jumping onto this. We're seeing, retailers are starting to, look at this and differentiate themselves. And I think that's what one of the biggest movements that we're seeing in a very short time is that when people get that, the aha, they're not just saying, hey, that was great information, putting it off to the side. They're actually acting on it. They're owning it. Mindwell Design is a great example of a designer in Toronto that actually changed up her whole business and mentions the fact that she does circadian lighting. She is a specialist in neuroaesthetics and so on. She's leveraging all of this and all the intel and all the knowledge that she's gained, plus using organizations, aligning herself with organizations like Johns Hopkins and Mayo and all of their research to validate what she's saying to her clients. And I think that's what's really important right now, is using that, aligning yourselves with that.
I think, Linda, this is such a key point. Health and wellness is the most important topic on the planet right now. We talk about it in the sleep space. We talk about connecting the life-changing benefits of the mattress to health and wellness, because COVID changed everybody's perspective on the home and on health and wellness, or at least crystallized that or fast-tracked it maybe 10 years into the future. So I love the idea of an interior design community that's able to come into a home, something that's become more important than ever, and have evidence to help people understand this is not just me making something look pretty. There's real credibility behind this. And here's the thing I want everybody to remember and attach themselves to. People want to be taken somewhere. They want to be taken somewhere on a journey, and they want a guide that can help them, and a guide that has credibility, a guide who's navigated these turbulent waters before. So if you're in the design community or you're in the sleep space, remember, you can help them with transformation. And I love whenever you can create transformation that's evidence-based, because there are so many opinions out there and there is so much misinformation. So if you develop that playbook and that lexicon, and you can get your team up to speed on how to use that and how to apply it, I think there's huge magic there. And I'm going to just let you kind of give us a rundown real quickly before we wrap up, because this has been so much fun that we kept going. But Mike, why don't you take us through real quickly? You're doing 10 summits. The first one is April 21st, 2022 in South Florida. And this is how people can get connected to what you're doing and really kind of bring this into their own environments. But take us through those summits.
Yeah, Linda and I are putting together a series of summits around the country. We're starting, it's really an international tour of design centers. It starts at the South Florida Design Park on April 21st in Florida. It then goes to Chicago Merchandise Mart a week later, then to Atlanta, up to Toronto, out to San Francisco, LA, LA, and then Boston, and then Minneapolis. The Las Vegas market in July will be there with the Science and Design Summit, and we end the year in October in New York. And the way to get in touch with us on this, if you're interested, is you can email me at mike@visionarydm.com or Linda. Linda, what email should we use for you?
Linda at livablecanada.com. Livable spelt the American way, so it's Linda at livablecanada.com.
Excellent. And what we'll do is we'll put also links in the show notes. So if you go to fam.news and you find this episode, scroll down, and whether it's on fam.news or social, we'll have links to your website and ways to get in touch with you. Thank you so much for dropping some science around design on us today. Super valuable. Can't wait to learn more myself and help our retailers and help our industry apply this in the sleep space, the furniture space, and beyond.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
No doubt. You guys keep doing what you're doing. The knowledge, the information is fantastic. Just a reminder for everyone that was listening to this, that one of the big takeaways for me is it's not just a wellness thing, it's a health thing. Mark said it, Mike and Linda both alluded to it. It's a health thing. It's so much bigger than just a pretty looking room. It's something that can impact your life. So again, Mike and Linda, thank you to you guys. If you're listening now, this is a campfire. Share this episode with people that you might find it interesting, and keep bringing your friends to it. Go to where you listen to our show, Spotify, iTunes, and give us a review. We appreciate that. We want to keep growing the fam, and you're a big part of the fam. Mike and Linda, congratulations on your first mattress podcast and now being part of our fam. We appreciate you guys.
You can bounce on it. Yeah, bounce with it, bounce with it. Bounce with it, bounce with it. All right. What is a hybrid? It's like peanut butter jelly, peanut butter chocolate. Hybrid so tight, there's no way that you could topple it. Hybrid on my wrist, that's a calculator watch. We add ourselves together and we take it up a notch.
Got the airflow, yo, keep you cool as it get. Visco foam alone to make you drip sweat. Get a hybrid mattress, yes, you'll get better rest. Cool and comfortable,
hybrid like a sweater vest.
You know the game, we're ahead of the sun. Cause the two of us together are way better than one. Cause I'm cool as ice, and I'm hot like a heater.
Bounce by the ounce, now we got it by the liter.
Well, you take a spring and you wrap it up right. You can sleep so smooth or bounce all night. Put two together, get a whole lot more. Get the feel of the comfort core.
You can bounce on it.
Lay back, you don't have to practice. It's the best thing to happen to your mattress. Get together to do it like I did. Everybody get hybrid.
Sing hybrid.
If you want somebody to get in your vicinity, you probably want to feel a little bit of a hybridity. Foam alone, out of 5, maybe 1 star. Springs and foam, we're taking care of that lumbar. Mad back support, the best way to shack up or just get rest that won't mess your back up.
Like a hot chick mixed with a particle physicist or a mullet. Party in the back of the business. Best of both worlds like Mars and Venus. The ultimate hybrid. Nothing short of genius.
Keeping it loose while keeping it tight. We can make you sleep or play all night. Put 2 together, get a whole lot more. Get the feel of a comfort core.
You can bounce on it.
No stopping when the beat gets played back. Springs keep it popping, foam keeps it laid back. Party over here, get invited. Everybody get hybrid.
Sing hybrid.
Listen, doesn't matter if your kitchen is charming when your bedroom's the most important part of the apartment.
What kind of bed do you keep back there? Does your girl wanna chill on a beanbag chair? Hell no!
You need springs and foam, cause if that bowling ball don't bounce, you'll be sleeping alone.
And if the bed don't react, then you can't get low. We got the type of bounce that won't spill your Merlot.
So stick with us and you'll get rewarded.
Cause I'm so gentle
and I'm so supportive.
Hybrid is where the magic is.
And we just killed a song about mattresses.